Starting. Let's not just circle on me again, please. Yay! Hello! I'm so happy when things work. Ever so excited when things work right. I'm Sally, Barbara, Laura. We're here at El Cajon Sew & Vac. And it is Thursday and we be rambling. Tomorrow is Friday, the start of the San Diego Spring Quilt Shop Hop, March 6th through 14th.
Oh, yes.
Come by and see. Go through to each quilt shop. Get your passport stamped. What's wrong, honey?
Were you guys yelling out here?
No,
I wouldn't call it
no.
yelling.
We were happy.
I was happy.
Caterwauling?
Yeah.
I was happy
We were
because
like,
when I
"Woo!"
pressed start,
It started.
it started. It didn't.
Oh, you've got my camera on.
What?
You've got my camera on. Okay, I'm good.
All right.
See what
the
we have to
prima
do with
donna has left us. So we're having you get your passport stamped, and that the last shop you go to, you put your passport in, and then you get in a drawing. There's a drawing for $1,000 gift certificate.
Wow.
So I think it's gift certificates from each of the shops, but each shop has a $250 value shop prize that there's a drawing for. So our shop prize is going to be a chair. So
One of these kind of
one of those kind of chairs,
Ooh.
like that. That's what we decided yesterday because I couldn't decide what
Can
to
they
do.
see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can see it.
Okay.
Well, not necessarily the button one, but one of those kind of chairs. Yeah.
Which has a nice
A
little...
place for your M&Ms.
Yeah.
You have to have your
or,
M&Ms.
So
you know.
stop in and see us, get your things stamped, and have an awesome time. Buy some fabric, get your free pattern. Each shop has a free pattern. So anyway, so it'll be fun.
Nice.
So today we are going to talk about binding. Yep,
And
binding.
you'll notice we don't have a sewing machine out. So we're going to do some mock sewing with pins. So bear with us.
Kind
use
of
your
like a
imagination.
mocktail. I wouldn't mind a mocktail or a real cocktail.
Yeah, a real
Yeah.
cocktail.
So anyway,
Where's
so
that bramble?
take it away, Laura.
Okay.
Yeah, we need a bramble for
That's right.
a bramble for Rambling Thursday. Our drink, our Rambling Thursday drink is a bramble.
Yeah.
Look it up. Look it
Okay.
up. Okay,
So,
let me go to camera 1 for you.
yes, thank you.
Okay, you're
So
welcome.
we're going to pretend.
We
that-
like to pretend.
I
We
do.
pretend a lot.
Yeah.
We spend our life pretending.
We're going to pretend that this is our quilt. And we just finished it. It's been quilted. And now we need to put binding on it. The conventional method for binding, you take your binding strip. There's some debate over whether it should be 2 1/4 inches or 2 1/2 inches. My personal opinion, I like 2 1/4 inch if I'm using cotton or cotton poly blend batting because the batting is thin and the quilt sandwich is thin. However, when I'm using soft and stable or in-our foam or something like that that's a little bit thicker, I use 2 1/2 because I need to get over that edge. Because remember, your binding.
This is it, you guys. We are ready to officially.
Sorry.
That's okay. I thought somebody was talking online.
Nope.
Okay. So your binding is going to be, you can do it either way. Pretend this is the front of my quilt. You can sew it to the front of your quilt. See my nice little sewing? You're impressed with this, I can tell. My mock sewing. Get the little pins
Yeah.
out.
I usually sew a thicker seam allowance
I
and
do
cut a
too.
wider
I
binding.
like a
Or
3/8
3/8.
inch binding instead of the 1/4 inch, but you could use a 1/4 inch. And then after you sew it on, this is the folded edge. It's gonna go over to the back, and you can see where the stitching line is. And your binding needs to come down and cover the stitching line. Just cover the stitching line, not exceed way past it. And then you would top stitch this in place, or if you're really adventurous, you could stitch it to the back by hand. That gives a very nice finished look. Now on the front side, you could stitch in the ditch, right in this groove, and then hopefully if you've covered the stitching line on this side, when you stitch in the ditch, you'll get a nice edge stitching here. Now personally, I'm not very successful with that. So what I do, we're now gonna pretend that this is the front of our quilt. I like to sew it onto the back of my quilt first, and then I roll it over to the front, and I use my left edge top stitch foot and I top stitch it all the way down. It may or may not land exactly in the ditch or on the binding a little bit or off the binding a little bit, but that's the back of the quilt, so I'm not real worried about it.
Yeah.
But it gives a nice finished edge. Another thing you can do, and Sally says she learned about that this week, you attach your binding to the front like this, and you take the whole thing, press it really well, and fold binding and all the edge of the quilt to the back, like this. So you're basically putting the facing on your quilt, and you would stitch that in place.
Or you could fold it to the front and stitch it down, and then you have a showy front.
Yeah, you
Right.
can do the same.
Either way.
But what you were talking about was this is a good way to hem a dress or a
Right.
sleeve or
But
a
they were also
skirt.
putting it on the front as a decorative edge.
Oh, that's a nice idea. Very nice idea.
Doesn't have to be to the inside. So you can put it to the front as a attractive edge on the front.
Yeah.
So that would be what you just did. That all goes to the back, so your front
Either
doesn't
the-
really show the binding.
Right.
So you
right.
could
Or if
either
you want the decorative edge, you would
on-
put it on the back and roll it to the front.
whichever you want to do.
If you're going to do this, be advised that the width of your binding, you don't roll over the edge, so if you have a wider binding, you're gonna have a wider strip on the back.
Well, the other disadvantage to that is if you would have that little the
The thick
thickness
part?
of the binding and the seam allowance, but that's not really that big of a deal, I don't
Right.
think.
Right.
I don't
Well,
know.
you could, if you
You
wanted
could trim it
to.
out,
You could
the
like,
binding.
you could
Well, you
like
could-
make
you
two rows of stitching there, one on the edge and one on.
You could take your binding strip, pretend this is my binding strip, and sew it to the right side without folding it.
Ooh, now that's an idea.
And so you put your seam allowance in, so we're not gonna fold it. Okay, so now it's sewed on. Now I'm going to press it in half and fold it over. I can do that. Or I can just give myself, a little bit on the back and fold it over, and I have a much wider binding on the back. But the thing about if you're doing it as a facing, now you only have one layer of fabric when you fold it back. And then you just tuck the end in, and you can tuck the end in and you can stitch that down, and you have a nice finished edge
Yeah.
with not as much bulk in the seam.
Yeah. Well, so the other thing too is if you want to have if you want to just have a little narrow bit on the one side and a fatter bit on the other, you could also do that.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk too about faux piping. So I'm gonna unstitch this.
It's so Your unstitching is amazingly fast.
I
Yeah.
know, isn't it?
How do you do
Okay.
that?
And she did it without a seam ripper.
Is that,
I
yeah.
know, I'm good.
Unstitching
Okay, so
without
to
a
make
seam ripper.
Faux piping. Now
Amazing.
these strips are larger than you would normally need, but you're gonna have one strip that is 1.5 times larger than your second strip. So your big strip and your little strip. And you're gonna sew them together.
So for instance, you would have maybe 1.5 and 3.
Yes, or
Okay.
1.5 and 2 3/4, something like that.
Okay.
So it depends
Oh,
on how
that's
much of
gonna
a
hurt my
flange you want.
head.
Yeah.
The more flange you want, the bigger this strip needs to be. Okay, so you sew it together and then you're gonna press it. Press your seam in place. Now I'm not pressing real,
No, don't
Real
press real
hard.
hard. There's pins in there.
yeah, I don't wanna get poked. Okay, so now you have a strip that looks like this, two-tone strip. Take this whole thing, fold it together, oops, right sides together now.
That's wrong sides together.
Wrong sides together, thank you.
Right side out.
Right side out, so you're folding it like this, okay. And we're gonna take it to our lovely little quilt top. I'm gonna sew it on the back. And you want to sew, see how you can see 2 colors here?
Uh-huh.
That goes face down,
Yeah, because you're going to flip it.
right. And so we're gonna sew this. Watch how quickly I can sew this, I'm so good. Well, that sewing needle is too big. Alright, so you're gonna sew this to the back, and then, and get this a good press, when you flip it over to the front side, you have this two-toned effect. Now you can make this piece, typically you would make it smaller so it looks more like this.
Yeah.
You know, just a little bit showing through. It's just the size of strips I had were conducive to what we just had. But then what you do is you top stitch in the ditch. This flange is left open, so it gives you the appearance of piping on your quilt.
So if you wanted to, could you run string through that so it makes it a little thicker?
You probably could. You probably could put string or cording in
Cording,
the
yeah.
edge and just push it down to the edge and
Sew it that
stitch it
way.
in place and then flip it over and you would have your faux piping in here. Well, then it would be real piping because you'd actually have string in there
Yeah.
or cording. So,
Might just be easier to put cording in it.
Yeah.
yeah. But I think it's easier than actually attaching cording to the binding and then trying to put it on. Because the other way you do that is, let's say this was my cording. Pretend there's cording in there. Okay.
Yeah, you'd have to sew it twice.
Right. So I would take this one and just sew this to the front of the quilt. Alright? And mind you, there's cording in here, so it's gonna be a little thicker. And I'm gonna use my cording foot. You would want to
Isn't-
make this a little bit thicker than a normal 1/4 inch seam as far as the depth here. Then-
So the cording is towards
The
the
cording
raw
is,
edge is on the edge of the quilt.
yes,
Okay.
yes, and the cording would be in here along
Okay.
the fold. So let me unsew this one real quick. I'm getting good at this unsewing with no seam ripper. Okay, so now I have my regular binding. Flip the quilt over, take your regular binding, fold it right sides
Wrong.
out. So wrong sides together, right sides out, and now you're gonna sew this to the outside, to the back of the quilt. Okay. Just like so.
Pardon me.
I like this pretend sewing. It's pretty forgiving. Okay, and then when you flip it over, your binding is gonna come over and your piping is gonna show on this side. You have more steps included with it, but then you have legitimate binding or flange on
Yeah,
the
but
quilt.
somebody that you give the quilt to is not gonna know the difference.
No, they're not. And then you would just top stitch right along the binding edge.
Yeah.
You don't have to top stitch this, cause this is gonna have your piping in it,
Yeah,
or your cording. So, that's another way to do it. What other thoughts do you guys have?
Huh.
I just use straight of grain when I do binding, unless it's doing curves, then you need bias.
Right, right. I like straight of grain binding because most of my quilts are square, rectangular.
Yeah,
And so by using straight of grain binding, I'm not stretching anything as I go down the
yeah,
side of the
bias
quilt
you
when I'm
level and
putting it on.
stretch it.
And if you stretch the bias binding and it's not on a curve, what happens is when you let go, it goes free,
Yeah,
and you end up with a wavy border, a wavy edge to your quilt, which is not entirely attractive if that's not what you were going for.
But if you have any curve, like if you're gonna do this on a garment to bind the edges of a pocket, say you have curved pockets, or if
the
you're
bottom
gonna
of a skirt.
do the bottom of a skirt, or
Yeah.
you wanna do, cause you could do sleeve edges, neck edges, then you
Mhm.
would wanna use bias because
you'd only wanna
You'd
use
only wanna
bias if
use-
you're doing maybe sleeveless and putting it around there, cause that's curved.
but you also would wanna do it on the neck.
Yeah,
Right, a neckline that's curved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, and especially if you're doing the technique where I was talking about it, where you're sewing it on one side and then folding it over at the top, so it's totally
yeah,
to the other side.
yeah,
Yeah.
That you definitely want to use a bias, because there's a curve to it, and then the neckline has some stretch, or your sleeve has some
Right.
stretch.
yeah, 'cause
Right.
it's gonna feel like you're doing this all the time, pulling the collar
Right.
down. 'cause
Yeah.
it's
Now,
trying
when
to
you
choke
put the bias binding on a neckline, is it like ribbing where you have to stretch it a little bit
I
as
would
you
not
put it
do
on?
that.
Okay.
No, you would just put it on straight.
Okay.
But it just allows
Allows the natural
allows the
fabric to
natural fibers to stretch, and it'll go
Okay.
around the curve naturally.
Okay.
It's not gonna if it's not biased, it's not gonna want to fold over.
Right. It's not
if
gonna
it's
contour
curvy,
very well.
Yeah, it's gonna
You're
gonna
end up
give
with
you
kinks and
trouble.
wrinkles and-
Yeah. But if you've got some bias on it, it's gonna not give you any trouble going over that curve. Likewise, if you're like say, I think it's kind of attractive to make your corners on your quilt curved. So if you
Yeah.
don't want to do, say you're not very good at doing your corners,
The,
on
the mitered
the
corners?
mitered corners.
Okay.
An option would be to pull out any curved object, like your
Like my mug.
mug. You can draw a curve shape around that, and then curve your corners.
I could use the box bag template for that.
Right,
That
you
would be
could.
perfect.
You could. And then your binding will just go around,
Right. But then you really do need bias
but
binding
you need,
because it's
right, that's
curved.
what it, steal my thunder.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Then you do need to do bias
Yeah.
binding because you're going around the curves, but that saves you having to do your
And do the
mitered
corner where you
corners.
come up and then
So
come
if you
down,
hate mitered corners,
whatever.
here's an option for you.
Yeah.
You can put curves on your quilt, curve your corners, curve all your corners, and just don't do any mitered corners.
Yeah.
Not a mitered corner in sight. Just curve all around it, and then just come to the end.
I like that. I like the mitered corners though. I mean,
I've gotten used
So-
to 'em.
yeah,
I
me
mean,
too.
And
But
I
I
don't
like
have
that
to.
idea.
say
of the
I like
curved
mitered corners, but I kind of like the idea of the curved corners because I don't particularly like having to miter the corner.
Well, I like it because when you do it, you get a perfect miter on one side, but then
Uh-huh.
when you flip it over, you really have to look at which way does the tuck go on this mitered corner. So this, you're sewing this first and then flipping this over, so the tuck is going this way. Keep your finger in that direction. When you're coming back on the other side, you want the tuck to go in the opposite direction to reduce bulk.
Right?
Because if it goes in the same direction, like this, then you end up with a bulky corner.
Okay. Your hand was in the way,
Oh,
so we
sorry.
couldn't see it.
Okay,
Let me
so
go to.
on this side, you can see that my fold is going that way. And I want it to go this way on the back. So I'm gonna sew along, da 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 da, and when I get to the corner, fold it over and just match it. Now, see both of my folds are going in the same direction, it's gonna be a little bulky right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold this one in first, make my miter up there, then bring this down, so now my fold's coming in from the opposite direction. And I pin these corners in place before I sew anything, I pin all 4 corners. And then, as I'm sewing around, I just sew right down here, drop it into the corner and come down the next side.
Yep.
So, but I get all of my corners pinned in place before I put any stitches in the back.
I
Or
just
the
use
front.
clips.
Yeah, you could use clips, but I like to pin them. But it gives you a pretty neat way of doing it. It's just you have to remember to make sure that you're
Get
not
it on the camera.
going in the same direction. So you can see if I fold this back, this side overlaps this side.
Yeah, it's
So
like you're
this side
nesting them.
overlaps. Exactly. And now this side's gonna overlap that side, so the bulk is reduced. The natural tendency would be to do this, but then you have all the bulk on this one corner, and sometimes that's hard to sew around.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's
true.
very flat right here and very lumpy right
Yeah,
here.
your
So,
presser foot does not like to be non parallel to the bed of your machine.
right, and this way it's flat on both sides. So, just one other little pro tip.
Then the other thing with binding is managing to get it hooking him up once you've got to the.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, couple tricks on
That's
that.
why I kind of like doing pot holders and putting the loop on because then
Yeah.
I don't have to
Yeah, you don't
match
have
it
to
up.
do
I
that.
just make a big circle of batting.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about finishing the edges, you want to start and end with a long tail. So here's one tail.
Of 2 cities.
Okay, we're gonna have 2 different bindings because I don't have a long enough piece here. Here's my other one. I'm finishing my binding now. I've come around and I've mitered the corner and I have a strip however long it is. Normally when I calculate how much binding I need, I add 20 inches because that's gonna take into account the mitered corners and give me enough overlap here. So, I never bind in the corner, I never tie off
No, I
in the
don't
corner,
do in
it's
the
always
corner. I
in the
try
middle.
to get the bottom middle.
Yeah. I like to do the right side middle. But, okay, so now you've come together and you've got 2 strips. So, how wide was your strip? If it was 2 1/4 or 2 1/2, it's important. So you're gonna find the center, bring both sides together. These are not the same width, so pretend that they
Pretend
are.
they're the same width.
pretend they're the same width. Okay, give yourself a good crease right there, okay? You're gonna cut one of them off, right at the fold. Think, it's gone. So all of this tail is gone. This one, if you're working with a 2.5 inch strip, you take this fold that you made and you measure back 2.5 inches and you cut it off.
If you're working with 3, you'd measure back 3 inches?
Yes.
Okay.
So now you have, and you want to leave yourself a nice gap in the middle here. I usually like to leave at least 12 or 14 inches open
On a quilt,
on a quilt.
usually on a placemat or something like that, you don't have that much room.
Well, on a placemat, I do a different binding method. So then you pin this to get it out of the way, and you're going to take the end that you cut off here with the end that you cut off here, and you're going to put them together, right sides together,
They need to look like a pair of pants.
to where the center line from this one, you're opening them up, the center line from this one is gonna match that fold line, or the edge of the fabric. You're gonna have the edge of your fabric here, so we'll pretend. So you have your 2 edges, you put them together like this, and then you have long legs and short legs. So we're gonna sew from corner to corner, and then when we turn it out, our binding is mitered together, and when you take the pin out and you go fitting, it just lays flat.
You'll
right
never
along
sew a
here.
binding wrong again if you look at it like a pair of pants.
Except I've cut off the legs already.
No, you haven't.
I did?
No. Because the legs are what's going out.
Right, but see, when I put this down here and I determined where my center point was, I
Just cut
cut
it
this
off.
one off at the fold,
Right.
and then this one, I measured out 2.5 inches,
Right.
or whatever it is,
Right.
and I'm matching this
Right.
cut edge with this
Right.
cut edge.
Right. Yep.
These pieces are gone. I've cut them off.
Right.
Okay, so when
And now
I
you're
put them together,
Laying them together.
right, I put
Yep.
them together like so,
Yep.
and then
And the bottom is the pair of pants.
oh, this part you're talking about.
Yeah, that's a pair of
Okay.
pants.
Okay.
So when you look at it where you sew across it, if you look at the bottom of it, it's a pair of pants.
Right, because you
So
don't
you when
want
you're
to sew
sewing
this
across,
way,
no,
because then
because
you're
that's
cutting
not
off
a-
one leg of the pants.
correct. So you're
So-
sewing across it, and it's a pair of pants. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. So when you have your miter like this, you want to keep
Move
both.
over just a bit.
Okay.
There you go.
You want to keep both long edges on the same side,
Right.
and your
Yes.
empty edges on the other side, and you're gonna sew right across,
Right across.
just like this, with straighter seams.
In other words, you're using bent needles?
Yeah, I was
bent
using
pin.
a bent pin. I had a crooked seam.
But
So you're gonna sew from, now, what I like to do is I do give myself a little bit extra on each end, just a hair, like a tiny bit,
Yeah.
like this, so you
Like
can
a
really,
16th of an inch.
yes, you just want that bottom fabric to peek out, and then you're gonna stitch to this notch, right there, where those 2 fabrics meet, from this notch up here, where those 2 fabrics meet, and when you do that, and then you open it up,
yeah.
it matches.
But as long as you're looking at that and you see that pair of pants down there and you're sewing it across the waistband,
Yeah,
you're never gonna. It's always gonna be perfect because it's a pair of pants.
right, and then when you open it out, you're gonna fold it back together, just
And
like
stitch
so,
it down.
and stitch it down. Now, one thing you do wanna make sure before you cut this off
Is that you didn't do
is
it
that
wrong.
you didn't get a twist. Like, I got
I
a twist.
always do that because I have twisted it before.
Yeah, so this one, I can see it's laying flat here and it's laying flat there, so it's fine. but you could inadvertently get a twist in there. You just wanna
That's
double
never
check
good.
that before you cut.
Yes.
But then,
Yeah.
once you open it out, it's gonna lay perfectly and you just finish that stitching
Yeah.
and nobody will be the wiser.
Yeah.
Now, on small projects, I don't do that. On small projects, I take this binding piece and I'll bring it all the way over. I do leave a
I'm
couple
gonna
inches
see if I can finish it in a
unsewn.
corner.
and I take this edge. Oops, how do I do this? Okay, first of all, you're gonna fold in like a half inch. I usually leave a half inch. And then you bring it up and you fold one edge over to the middle, like so. And then fold it up, and you're gonna start your stitching about an inch away from your edge. So we're gonna stitch, we're gonna do our mitered corners, we're gonna go around, blah, blah, blah. Now, when I come to the other end of my binding, all I do is I open this out, tuck this in, bring this back. Oops, I lost my miter. Okay, so this was tucked in. I tuck this folded piece. And you could do this on a quilt, I just don't think it looks as nice. But you're gonna tuck it in and then fold it back. And you're tucking it in so that it goes into this 1 inch part here. And now it just fits. So you can measure it and say, okay, I need to cut off whatever that's gonna be, and you stitch it down, and you can.
I'm almost wondering if you could do that into a mitered corner and have it look nice.
Oh, I don't see why not.
Let's see if you can do that.
Well, except on the back side,
It's gonna look funky.
it's gonna
Yeah.
look different.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, and maybe, but if you folded both of them in.
Right, you might be able to just go do a corners like that, and then I'd just be happy. I'd be a happy
If you
camper.
folded both of them in, and then you have this sewn in here, like so.
Just end the corner like that.
Yeah. Then when you sew this and you turn it over, it's mitered on both sides.
Yeah. Interesting.
But that's what I do for tiny projects.
What do you mean by tiny?
Like this pot holder, if I was putting
Oh,
binding
yeah.
on this pot holder,
Yeah.
I would do
Well,
that.
Placemats
if
I
I
do
was
it the
putting
other way.
binding on that pot holder, I'd put a loop on it, it'd be a big circle in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aha.
So that's all I have
Interesting.
about
So,
binding.
you have any other thoughts?
I can't think of anything else. There's probably more ways to
To
connect
skin
the
the cat.
binding, but
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. Well, there's the binding tool. Oh, I have one here.
Well, and
No,
I
I
had
don't.
this one
Thought I
lady
did.
that I took a class
Works
from
well.
a long time ago. What she did was she would measure her finished project and then make her binding, sew all the pieces together, miter the binding, the whole thing, just like this,
and then put it on.
one big giant thing, so she had a circle.
Would it always fit?
Yeah. Because you're making this
Well,
the same size
I mean, if
as
you're
what
making
you
it,
put
yeah,
around.
I guess
Yeah.
it would.
And it fit. I guess my math
I'd
is not
probably
that
be.
good,
I would
'cause-
probably be better off doing that because I never get it to fit doing the little
Yeah.
floppity flippity thing.
this part.
Yeah, well, no, I can miter those. I'm fine with
Okay.
that. But getting the ends to go together,
Oh, yeah.
I always have a problem with that. So I'd be better off to measure the whole thing around
See,
and
I
then.
do the ends a little different.
How do you do them? Well, you have to come over here. Roll move.
I don't cut anything off
Trade
until I've done it.
places.
Because I've sewed them the wrong way before, and then I end up 2 inches short.
Ooh.
Oh, that's my phone.
What I do is have a tail like this.
Come up here a little bit. There you go.
Oh, this one. Okay.
And then I've got, then I sew all the way around and have a tail on this end. Let's get the crease down here.
Okay.
So in other words, if I've got this, I usually got this because this is extra,
Right.
and I come around, and then I'll stop about here, but I make sure I've got enough
And you're
fabric
sewing your
down here.
raw edges down, right?
Yeah, I sew the raw edges down,
Okay.
and then I come here and take a marker and mark this,
Okay.
and then I take this, open it up, take this and open it up where the mark is. If I can do it. You'll see the mark is there. And then I pin it open, and then I sew from here to here.
Okay.
So I don't cut anything off until after I've sewn.
Okay.
And then I stretch it out and I go, oh, it fits.
Yeah.
Or, oh, it doesn't fit.
That's
And
the
me
top
usually-
I do it
oh,
like
it
a
doesn't
16
fit.
And because I have done it, not paying attention when you get tired, and sewed the wrong way and cut it off.
Oh.
And then
And
you're
then
out of
you're-
luck. You gotta do
right.
the whole thing over again.
Then you got no pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got no pants. But I've learned, especially doing it, I've been dealing with black, and that's hard to see.
Oh, it's very hard.
Yeah.
to
But I
see.
took, because you're going from corner to corner and you can't see it, that projection, the line.
I love the projection.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
white line, and I can see it on black, so I know where to sew. Because you put two blacks together and go, "Where's the edges?"
Right.
So I was
right.
using that at the corner because I could see the corner, and that line was straight, so I would sew it. So
Yeah.
I didn't have any
Oh,
problems
that's
with
nice.
that.
That's nice.
But that projection line was very good.
Yeah,
now
if
I
you-
like that. I like that tip about drawing the line with the marker and cutting it later. I like that
I like
Yeah.
that too.
because then
And
you're not
I
having to measure
I think
how
Carol
wide your
Ireland
strip is.
did that
or...
years ago when we taken classes from her.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that because
Yeah, I am too.
Because
I like that.
I don't have any problems that way, and if I'm tired and do it wrong, then I can just unsew it
right
and sew it
then
the right.
fix it.
Because
Yeah.
I did that on one of my placemats. I'm going.
And
Why did
that's
you do
it's
that?
good because you're not cutting off the extra
not
until,
cutting off
until
you're
after
sure.
the
Right,
sew.
exactly.
Yeah,
I
I
like
like
that
that.
idea. Okay,
Very
all right,
good.
we're good. That's an excellent idea. Well, and you could use a piece of tape and mark with a piece of tape
Oh,
instead of a
yeah.
marker. Just put the tape on there.
That's a
Then
good
that'd
idea
be
too.
real easy.
Yeah.
Because then if you can't see
Yeah,
the
I just have
marker, because so often I put the marker down and I'm like, okay, where's the
Well, I
marker?
was
Because
using
it's
white
hard to
fabric.
see.
I
well,
was using a
depending.
white chalk pencil
Yeah.
Yeah, on black.
on black.
Yeah,
Because
black.
it's like you can't see anything else
Yeah.
on black.
But I like the
anyway.
idea of the tape too. That's
Yeah.
a really good idea.
Yeah.
Well, I used the tape on Sunday when I was doing the
I
fall
saw
club
that.
project.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Is
was
this
a
that rescue
challenge.
tape?
No, it's
Or
it's
is it
maker's
medical
tape. No, it's
No?
maker's tape.
Oh, maker's tape. Okay. I like that because you can tear it off into tiny.
Yeah, those of you who
strips.
missed fall club on Sunday, boy, that was
That was a good
that
one.
was a interesting bag. It's a neat bag, but it was a challenge to teach. But I did it.
You did a good
I
job
succeeded. Well, anyway,
Well, it
that's
ripped straight.
Yeah.
it rips perfectly straight. It's awesome tape. Maker's tape.
You need little bitty pieces for anything?
I
I have
probably
4 of
will,
them.
but you can just put them down. Just put them on the. Just put them on the desk, and I'll use them.
If you can find them.
Well, that is kind of sometimes a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be kind of because you can rip it off exactly at a 1/4 inch, so that might be kind of neat for like
Yeah.
putting down to make sure you're making a 1/4 inch seam. Now
Oh,
that's
that's
an
a good
interesting
idea.
thought, huh?
Very nice idea.
Very good. All right. Well, I think we should say goodnight.
Good
So
night.
maybe
Good
we'll
night.
see you on the quilt run. We'd love to see you. If you haven't come in and seen the new Nordic Frost Epic 3, we'd love to demonstrate it for you.
It's very pretty.
Yes, and we do have an Epic 3 the older color with a new embroidery unit. If you would like that one, don't snooze because that's a great deal.
Yeah.
Don't want to miss out on that either. So, yeah, that was some interesting binding tips. Well, I do have those 2 quilts I need to quilt, so, man, then I'll have to put binding on them, so maybe Sally will actually be successful in putting on some binding. So. Alright, we'll see y'all next week. Oh, we'll be coming to you live
From the
from the quilt run because the
Yay.
quilt is from. We will be open 9:30 to 6. Well, we'll be open 8:30 to 5, but we'll actually be open 8:30 to 6 because the quilt run is 9:30 to 6 Monday through Saturday and Sunday 10 to 4 March 6th through 14th. So don't miss your free table runner pattern, and we'll see
They're so
you.
much fun.
Yep,
Runs
and
are
then
a lot of fun.
we'll see you next week on Thursday.
Yep.
Happy
Yep.
Thursday. Happy March.
Bye. Have a good week.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.